Hi, I'm Ava DuVernay. Happy to be here with,
Julia Garnett.
and we're going to have a conversation about Banned Books Week. Here we go.
Yep, I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored for this opportunity. Um, and I can't wait to get into it.
Well, I'm
Uh,
happy to be here with you to talk about something that's important to both of us. And so, congratulations on being the honorary chairperson for, what do we call it? For the young, cool folks. That's what I think you're doing.
Thank you. All
Yes,
right.
I'm for the old fogies. That's my representation.
Oh, no, I'm so inspired by your work. I'd like to start by asking you about the social issues that are portrayed in your films are often the same ones being targeted by book banners. So I'd like to ask about your view on this as a filmmaker and how that's impacted you and kind of what you think the implications of these attacks on books have on today's young people.
Well, it has made me this banning of books, this silencing of voices, this diminishment of expression has made me more fiery and more assertive and more intentional about the kind of things that I make and the kind of stories I tell. I mean, I think it's having the opposite effect of what they think, which they think kind of very voices are going to die down, and we're really just more fervent, more on fire than ever. And so I take that as a positive, yes, because it's activated people, it's made people say no, to have access and opportunity to learn and grow and to communicate is the bedrock of our democracy. It should be a human right, and we're not gonna let it go lightly. And so I'm ready to rock.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for your passion. I always say that like when someone challenges a book or someone tells us not to read or watch something, it really only makes us want to read it or watch it more. So it
Exactly.
really it really doesn't work. And I find that
Doesn't work. One day
yeah.
we'll figure it out, but until then, we proceed.
Yeah. So I want to ask about, there's so much, I'm assuming, research that goes into your films that's kind of intertwined with themes of social change, community engagement, and civil rights. And what connections do you see between history and the current state of book bans? And at the same time, how can we take that history and turn it into action to fight for a more inclusive future?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think these attacks are directly based on an allergy that some people have to history, and they're just thinking of history in the wrong way. History is not an indictment. We're not talking about all of the things that were done wrong. We're acknowledging what happened, and we're learning from it so that we can have a brighter future. The very core idea that history should be rejected, hidden, ignored, taken from us is bizarre to me. It's just weird. It doesn't make sense. And so that is the whole argument. We don't want to talk about the past because it makes us feel bad now. What? Are you living a human life? Like, what are we talking about? So this whole idea of defending feelings and kind of, it is not real. This is acutely political. This is folks that have a real agenda and are using books, history, expression, creativity, art as weapons. And we just can't allow it. And so I think, to really be aware of what we're hearing, the criticisms of certain books, the denial of history, these are dangerous, ridiculous things. And once we have the knowledge of that and really understand this isn't even a real grown up conversation, these are people having a tantrum,
Yeah.
right? Then we can proceed in a mature, thoughtful, dignified manner to defend ourselves.
I love that energy. I love your energy so much. On a personal note, A Wrinkle in Time was a book that meant so much to me and my mom growing up. She used to read it to me. And she's a teacher as well. So it just kind of tying all that in together. I know I love our teachers.
Yeah.
Um, so what did it mean to you to have the opportunity to direct, the movie for A Wrinkle in Time? And, you also had the chance to bring the life of Isabel Wilkerson, the author of Caste, to the screen. So what did that, mean for you to be able to do that?
Well, I have to say, and thank you to your mom and salute to all the teachers. I thank them for their service whenever I meet a teacher. Just like a military person or police officer or whatever people feel are the folks that really guard us and guide us. Teachers are truly that. So thank you. And when I think about A Wrinkle in Time or Origin, which is based on a book called Caste, both of them having been banned in different places at different times, I really think of my sister Gina, who is a librarian. She's a librarian by trade. She was the first person in my life, she's my little sister, the first person in my life who I met and lived with and knew who loved books. She loves books like I loved chocolate when I was a little girl, right? Just she would devour them and the sparkle in her eye, how it expanded her and empowered her as a young woman, as a young girl. She really took that as a lifelong dream and now empowers and inspires other people through her work in Atlanta, Georgia, as a librarian. And so I thank her for kind of opening my eyes to the wonder of books. And I think that film can also do that. Film based on incredible books is a gateway for people who may not be reading as much, may not, have books readily accessible to them. It's a gateway to folks who have books that are being kept from them. I think that film is really a defense that allows there to be more Gina DuVernays in the world, young people who are expanded by the wonder of books, and it's a lifelong love for them. So that's really the goal. And in making A Wrinkle in Time, knowing that it's such a beloved book, in making Origin based on Caste, it was such a of the moment book. These are big responsibilities to try to translate the vision of the author into a new cinematic vision. The real goal is to impart the story or the information and bring people back to the book. And so that was my goal with both of those. And I'm always thrilled when people said, "Oh, I watched the movie. Now I want to read the book." Great. Or I read the book and I saw the movie because of the book. That intertwining, that relationship, I think is really beautiful between artists.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And your relationship with your sister is like really resonates with me because I have two younger sisters and I'm really inspired by them, to work for a better future, not just for myself and students around the country, but for my own family as well, and for my mom who's a teacher. So I really appreciate that. And to kind of tie into that, I am a young activist, and it can sometimes feel isolating to be among the youngest of the voices in the room. I'll walk into a school meeting and there's only a couple young people there. And I'm not alone in this experience because there's young people fighting book bans across the country. And so I'm wondering if you have any advice for us as we continue to advocate for the right to read free from censorship.
Well, first of all, I commend you. I take my hat off to you. I bow to all activists who are doing that hard work. I think the one thing to remember it's lonely because that's what leadership is. There's someone who's leading, and that is who we're following. And it's lonely in the front. And so it's about building coalition and making sure that the folks around you are aware, are educated, are interested, are leaning in. People have different levels of engagement, and that's okay. But even one person can have impact. Even if you are a leader with no followers, that is a real thing. One person can have an impact. And so I think that that loneliness, when you feel it, it's like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be. I'm on the right track. And so I certainly feel that, and I embrace it. I embrace it as, oh, this is a part of the gig. This is part of what I've chosen to do. And if I feel that kind of loneliness, that, gosh, I'm the only one out here doing it, and everyone else is doing this. If you feel it and you still want to do it, you're on the right track. And there's nothing better than feeling like you're on the right track. So not easy, but glorious. And it is something that not everyone can do. So if you have that fire and you want to do it, pursue it and give it a try. Keep going.
Wow, I hadn't really thought about it like that, I guess. Thinking back like a few years ago, my first school board meeting, it was hard, walking into that room. But I did find and build community with other adults and older people who have helped me, I guess, lifted me up. Is there anyone in your life that, has been there for you during
Well, let
those
me
times
ask
for
you
reading?
about that
Yeah.
when you're feeling that you are walking in spaces, sometimes probably the youngest person, or the only of your kind in terms of your age. How have you pushed through those moments where you felt like, I can't do this? How have you called on your reserves?
I think I think a great example would be my first school board meeting because I walked in completely blind. I didn't know what to expect, and they were talking about the book "A Place Inside of Me" by Zetta Elliott, a beautiful illustrated book about a young Black boy's experience after witnessing a police shooting and the emotions that he goes through. So I was really moved to action to defend that book because I believe that it's definitely a book that belongs in school libraries. And so my junior year of high school, I went in with my dad, no idea what to expect, didn't even know where to sit. And I go up to the school board podium and I'm gripping it and I'm terrified. Um, and I didn't know what to expect. And I did feel alone in that moment. But I began speaking and I just kind of felt this passion for what I was talking about. And I think almost an anger at the same time because I'd been watching some of my school board members act like children. And I said that. I improvised and I said that in my speech, and the room kind of erupted at that moment. There were people cheering, and I kind of found like, oh, there are people, I'm kind of scary, and oh, there are people that support this. And among the grumbling when I was speaking, that kind of fueled that passion. And there are people who aren't kind online. There are people who I would walk up to go speak and they would laugh at me as I'm walking up. And I think that just empowered me even more because it showed me my message is important, my voice is powerful, and I can inspire others to do the same. And so
Yes, Julia.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't be fighting so hard if it didn't matter.
that's exactly
It
right.
didn't
Yeah.
matter. So you're just giving me confirmation that it matters, and you're going to continue on. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. As you're talking, I just feel proud of you.
Oh,
I feel
thank
proud
you.
of you. And for anyone who feels galvanized to speak up, there, like I said, there are riches within the experience. The
Mm.
things that you learn, the things that you felt. You feel alive in the moment when you're fighting for what you believe is right. And so
Yes.
glad you did. Yeah.
Yeah, it all just kind of fades away and you're in that moment, and
Right.
that's so
That's
beautiful.
good
Yes.
for you.
Um, yeah, and so beyond just students, do you have any advice for the adults around the students creating change and how they can best uplift and support our efforts?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I think so often as adults, we feel like, oh, I'm just going to handle it or I'm going to deal with it. And I think there's something so powerful about facilitating the direct involvement and listening to, not only listening to, but trying to assist young people to speak for themselves, to be heard. And so I would tell older folks to just kind of step out of the way and listen and ask what can be done to support. Because we do have certain life experiences and we can't pick up the phone, we can't do certain things, or we do want to defend you and we do want to protect and kind of help and make it move in a certain direction. But so often we have to remind ourselves this is your time, your time to do it. And so I would just advise to listen, to lean back, to stay nearby and ready to help, but to really try to take a secondary role because young folks have so much knowledge, so much passion, so much that they know that we don't know. That it's important to make sure that you're heard.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. It really reminds me of my mentors at home who really did a great job doing that. They drove me to events. They
Yeah,
gave me advice, but they never told me what to say or what to think. And I think that's really beautiful, allowing us to do that ourselves, but have that net, that support
yeah.
to rely on and to fall back on. So I really love that.
Let's
Um,
say some of their names. I think it's important to name
yeah,
names. Give me a
yeah.
couple of the folks who actually got you here.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start with my parents, Diana and Reeves Garnett. I love them so much. They've really supported me. My younger sisters, Emily and Claire, um, I love them so much, and I miss them. I'm in college. But also Holly Cruz, she is local, ran for school board. It didn't always work out, but we tried and we fought hard, and she's driven me to so many places. And there's just so many names out there, people who helped me get to this moment. And so
I think
it's
it's
a
important
it's a
to hear
great
the names because
yeah.
some folks feel, oh, I just drove her to the thing. Am
Mhm.
I really doing something? But every single step,
Yes.
every single thing that someone does to encourage another person matters. Even the kind words saying, do it. Even the comment that you write saying,
Yeah.
you know, this is okay. I believe in it. All that stuff really matters more than people think, don't you think?
I certainly agree. I think that really reminds me that, sometimes we go and we speak at things, or we are activism, or we're activists, but we don't always see the small acts of kindness and how, they affect people in such big ways, because we just view it as something small we're doing. And I've really reminded of that sometimes. I've had friends reach out to me who they were kind of acquaintances, but they've said, "Oh, you've inspired me so much in this way," or I've taken action because I watched you, and I didn't even know I affected them in that way. And I think that's really beautiful.
Everything matters.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's wonderful.
So as we wrap up, I wanted to ask, do you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for teachers, students, and librarians working so hard to defend books right now?
Yeah, I would just say you're in a fight. This is a war, and this is a fight that must be fought. We can't hope that someone else is going to take care of it. We're on the front lines of this, and this is going to take time. It's going to take diligence. It's going to take our attention. It's so easy to tune out because it's so negative, and it's so ridiculous that you have to get up to defend such a beautiful book that you talked about. It's such a drag to have to be distracted by all of this stuff. But part of the goal of it is to get us off our game, to make us tired, to make us distracted, to make us so busy with this nonsense that we're not doing the things that really matter. And so the only way to combat it is to go straight at it. And I think it's really scary for teachers right now. Their jobs, their livelihoods are on the line. But folks are doing innovative things. They're organizing. They're standing in solidarity with one another. They're making their voices heard, and we just can't stop. So we're in the midst of a battle, and we are in solidarity with many people around the country. And I think it's just knowing that we aren't alone in these struggles, and
Mhm.
knowing that these struggles are important, and it's going to take a while. So you better stay ready.
Of course, always ready. Thank you. Thank you, Ava, for taking the time to join us and for your incredible leadership during Banned Books Week and beyond. And to everyone watching, thank you for being here, and please keep up the good trouble.
Yes, the good trouble. Thank you, Julia.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye. Bye.
Bye.